What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Warriors Report. I have some special guests with me from To The Point, guys. So make sure to head over to their channel. Skip and Brian, thank you guys for joining me here. Go to their channel, hit the subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, hit the subscribe button as well. So for today's video, we're going to be discussing the biggest need for the Toronto Raptors. Is it a center? Is it B, a point guard, a backup point guard for Fred VanVleet? Or is it going to be C, a shot creator / an all-star to help Pascal Siakam? So, Skip, I'm going to let you start with this. Give me your take on what you think the Raptors need the most.
I think it just depends what you're going for, right? I think what they need the most in terms of short term, like let's get out of the basement, let's get back to 500 is, yes, you need shooting. You need to go out there and get a body, whatever the name is, an Alec Burks, Terrence Ross, just somebody to get in here to make some damn shots. Now, if you're talking a little bit more long-term, a little bit more big picture, that's when you have to start thinking about those other things, right? The center, I think the center is a big thing, but you look at the options for centers, right? Your Jakob Hurdles, your Miles Turners, you're talking about more of a long-term project. Those guys are going to need to be extended. They're going to need to be here more long-term. And that's more like a 2 or 3 year project in terms of actually building the core back together and fitting the pieces properly together in the future to build a championship roster. And then, of course, I mean, ultimately, you do need that superstar shot creator. But I mean, I don't think that's going to be out on the market this year. I don't think you can go out and get a guy like that. I think you have to hope that some of the people in-house can develop into that kind of piece. Yeah, so that's my quick take.
All right, Brian, on to you. What do you think the Raptors' biggest need currently is right now?
To get their shit together. Like, honestly. No, seriously. When it comes down to the coaching, like the Raptors have all the vital pieces. Like we can discuss about the shooting, we can discuss about the centers, right? Like the shooting, we got shooters. There's Freddie VanVleet, there's Gary Trent. OG can hit his stuff. If Scotty can work on his stuff, he'd be great. Boucher can hit it once in a while. Pascal can hit it once in a while. When you look down at when you guys are talking about the centers, there's the Thaddeus Young, there's the Kem Birch, there's the Precious Achua who's coming back soon. There's that investment in Christian Koloko to take care of down there. And then when we talk about a true point guard, you have players that can be that point guard. You have the Delano Bantons, you have the Scotty Barnes, you have the Malachi Flans, because I'm going to be honest with you, and Mom, stop it. Fred VanVleet is not a true point guard, right? He's better off the ball, right? So I think what it does is it comes down from the like how you always say, like people always say, you kill a snake from the head, right? So the head has a lot to do with it. So it's the NN, him and his crew need to get together to address these issues and utilize what they have with the Raptors' current roster. Because honestly, I think they should be better than what they are right now. Thank you, Prab.
No, that's a good take. The Raptors, the talent is clearly there. Like people keep talking about tank for Wembanyama and all that, but let's be honest, man. Like you can get like 4 first-round draft picks for Pascal Siakam, but like I've talked about this in my previous videos. But what are the chances that you get a talent like Pascal, a power forward that can pass, that can shoot? I know his 3-point shooting isn't the strongest part of his game, but he can dribble. He can do so many things. He can play defense. He can rebound. He can do so many. He's a very versatile player. So sure, look, easy to say tank, but I think the Raptors do need to get their shit together. But I'm going to go with the center because this is something I've been screaming for about 2 years now. After the Tampa season, I said it. I said the Raptors need a center. And what I had a lot of people in the comment section saying is, you don't get it. Masai Ujiri is going with the 6'9" vision. But what a lot of people fail to understand is you can't just replace a position. You need that position for a certain reason. Like you guys have watched the Raptors for a while. You remember before we got OG Anunoby, what a struggle it was for those Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan days where we tried to get different guys to play the 3 and D position. We tried DeMar Carroll. We tried Terrence Ross. I mean, we tried CJ Miles and LeBron James in the playoffs, and that clearly failed. So I think it's not as simple as just, like, you can't just replace a position, man. It's one of those things. For one thing to be there, you need another. For a point guard to exist, you need a center. So yes, I think Masai Ujiri saw what happened to Marc Gasol in the bubble. versus Boston Celtics, and he decided ultimately he wants switchability, but at least try to get a legitimate center that's 6'9", that's mobile, that's strong. Now's Reed. I'm going to throw that out there. Absolutely love him. He would be amazing, but the Raptors need defense. And I want to use this one example before we talk about other things. I know people say we need shooters. Brian, you said it. We have a lot of players that can shoot. Fred, Malachi, Gary Trent, OG Anunoby, Otto Porter Jr. Precious should be still a decent shooter. Chris
I
Boucher.
forgot about him.
You forgot about him, but he's been injured, and a lot of these guys can shoot. It's not that we don't have shooters. It's just their defense sucks right now, and that leads to a lot of bad, let's be honest, it leads to a lot of bad games. Look at what the Raptors scored last game versus the Clippers. Everyone is saying we need better shooters, but how many points did they score? 116 points? You should be winning most of those games when you're scoring that many points, but it's not about that. It's about how many points they've allowed. And I want to use the Cleveland Cavaliers, for example. Last season, when Jared Allen went down late in the season, we saw where the Cleveland Cavaliers defense went from being one of the best in the NBA to being one of the dead last. So look, I get it. Masai Ujiri goes with 6'9" visions, but centers anchor the defense. And I think that's what's hurting the Raptors right now. Not only that, they're last in defensive rebounds. So by getting a good center, not only do you have some rim protection, not only does your defense automatically get better, you're preventing the other team from getting offensive rebounds. You're allowing them less offensive opportunities, and you allow yourself to get more opportunities. You get those defensive rebounds, you run with it. So I'm going to go with the center position. I
think they're last in defensive rebounds because the other team is actually hitting their shots. There's really,
which all goes. Well, that all goes back to defense, right? And the lack of rim protection as well. I would say the Raptors do have shooters, but they're not putting their shooters in the best position to make shots because their shooting is absolutely terrible. But it's not just the bodies out there on the floor. It's also where are those shots coming from? Are they contested? Are they off the dribble? Are they catch and shoot? So it's a combination of factors. But just to your point about the switchability thing, this Division 6-9, I think what we're seeing is that Vision 6-9 is a great changeup, but it's not a great fastball. You need to be able to go to that in specific spots against specific matchups. But at the end of the day, you do need your center to hold down your defense. You do need your point guard to create shots, whether, it doesn't have to be a point guard. It can just be a shot creator, lead positions out of it. But you do need to have that other way to play. You need to be able to go back and forth if you're going to do Vision 6-9, because just Vision 6-9, teams in the NBA are too good and they'll figure that out. So I think at the end of the day, yes, you do need a center on this team, but you need a good center. I mean, Kem Birch, love him. He's not the answer. I mean, he's just a body right now. So eventually you're going to need to find somebody who can really be, and this goes back to talent, right? I mean, there is a bit of a talent deficit right now coming off the championship, having everybody leave. The guys that we're plugging in just aren't at that level that they need to be. And it's going to come down to, spend some draft capital, go out and get someone who can really be an impact player.
Brian, what are your thoughts? You still think the Raptors need to get their shit together? Or do you agree with me and Dougie here?
Listen, I just think the bench, as a former coach, I will say that the bench really needs to get their shit together, because when I'm looking at their style and the way they're moving, positionless basketball is genius. That's amazing. That's going to revolutionize the game for the next 20 years, 10 years at least. Mark my words on that one. But it's how do you use it and who is in control of using it. And I think that comes down to the coaches on the bench. Like, shout out to my man, Jama Mahalela, that I grew up with. Like, I wish he was still on the Raptors as a coach, because he might have actually seen that and, like, maybe give Rico Hines a higher position instead of just developmental, right? I think if they were to utilize what they have against other teams, I think that team, like we just said about the bench, I think if they used their bench, kept the fresh legs, with the Raptors' calling card is defense and transition, right? Not so much on the offense and the 3-point, not so much. But if they were to use the players that they have available for that, I think it can propel them further up in the standing and maybe make them like a legit team, like a team that you would recognize, because you need those legs and you need to utilize it. You can't just Like I saw a stat today. I was looking it up. I can't remember where I saw it, but out of the top 8 players of minutes used, the Raptors have 4. Like it's
Yeah,
ridiculous,
yeah,
right? So maybe utilize that bench, get these guys these reps. You don't want these players to come in cold and be like, okay, well, we need you right now, and then they can't do nothing, right? Right. You need to keep them going and you need to get them the reps. You can't just like shove them into somewhere and expect miracles. I
yeah.
I honestly think it comes down to the coaching on the bench that needs to utilize this team because this team was good. I said it last year, Prob. You remember. I did say about Yuta Watanabe. Now look at him.
So
The Raptors.
Brian, you're right to a certain degree. I think Nick Nurse definitely needs to utilize his bench better, but I'm actually going to go with Masai Ujiri. I know we always shit on Nick Nurse. I've shitted on Nick Nurse pretty much the entire last season saying play Malachi Flynn, play Malachi Flynn. But when you watch the game, you still realize that the reason Malachi Flynn wasn't playing was that he still doesn't understand the game quite a bit to the extent that a lot of Raptors starters do. Like watch Nick Nurse on the sidelines, you'll see him pointing Malachi Flynn to different directions. And even last game, where a few games ago, I remember after a stoppage, OG was pointing to Malachi Flynn to tell him to cut and do certain things. So I think it's one of those things. Yes, Masai Ujiri, needs to put a little bit better bench too, but it's a tough position the Raptors are in because they want to develop guys while they still want to continue to win. So I think let's be honest though, Delano Banton isn't a backup point guard in any NBA team. Let's be honest. He's not. You
No,
can play him
not
7 minutes
how
a
he's
game,
playing
but
right now.
he
Yeah,
not even the way he was playing last season. He needs some reps. He needs some reps. He needs more reps at the G League. I think I know he's killed it down there, but it's one of those things. Like they just need better backup players, man. Like, but
So,
Masai
so
usually
prep. I know it's not my show. Can I jump in real
no,
quickly?
absolutely jump in, man. Jump in. This is what's all about.
So we're talking. We need a center. We need a point guard. Are we talking going out acquiring one with draft capital this year? Are we talking off season? Are we talking how immediate are we talking going out and getting somebody?
See, that's the difficult position though, Skip, because it's like the Raptors, the way the season is going, there's so much unpredictability, and you don't want to give up first round picks to acquire a really good bench piece because the Raptors aren't in a win now mode. Like those kind of moves are usually made if you're the 4th seed and you want to push, and become a 3rd and 2nd seed, or if you're top 4, top 5 team and you think you can make it past the 2nd round. That's when you really make to push those, moves, and you really try to acquire those key bench pieces that could help you in deep playoff runs. But right now the Raptors are in a very funky position, man. Like if you look at the Raptors right now, they're expected to draft what 10th, 11, and if you take into consideration the 2nd round draft pick, that's going to be around what 40th spot. So you usually find really good guys around that spot. So I would be again, it's very easy for us fans. I know we always complain about things, but it's so hard to kind of figure out what the Raptors should do with their draft picks, right? Because obviously the Raptors are in a weird position where their season isn't going the way it wants to be, not how Masai Ujiri wants it to be, not how we want it to be. But you can't just give up even those 2nd round draft picks right now because they could be very valuable. Norman Powell got drafted in, I believe, in his 40. Correct me if I'm wrong. 44th, 46. It's one of those.
Yeah,
I
high
think it was
second. I don't know.
42nd.
I don't
46.
remember. Yeah.
So again, I mean, it's not often that the Raptors do draft this high. Obviously, we had our Tampa season, but even those 2nd round draft picks are going to be early into the 2nd round, and you want to hang on to those. So it's a tough position, man. I don't envy Masai Ujiri's job right now because you're trying to win and you're also trying to develop. But
And
again,
the
I'll
other
leave
thing
it.
is a lot of the centers that I'm looking at are free agents at the end of the season. So
Yeah.
you're looking at not necessarily going out and signing them, but if you're going to trade them, you got to work out an extension. You got to figure out finances in the longer term. So I'm not seeing a really obvious trade right this second. There's ways to make it work, obviously, but you have to be committed to bringing this guy. If it's a Jakob to bring him in and signing him to whatever the contract is. If it's Miles Turner, $30 million a year, whatever the case may be. So that's a big consideration if you're going to make that trade now. So there are other considerations if you're trying to do it in the offseason, but yeah, so I mostly agree. I think it's more of a stand pat year, if anything, or maybe a soft sell. We'll see.
Yeah, Brian, what are your thoughts? Do you agree with us, or do you think they should go all out and trade their draft capital and some of the young players to get a center, possibly some backup bench players to help
I,
some of our starters?
I have a hard no on all of that. Don't change anything up unless you're gonna do like grab it like what they did with Norm Powell or do a Kawhi Leonard and shake shit up. No, no, no. Don't bother with it. Develop the players that we currently have. I honestly, I think they have the recipe for, well, they have to create the recipe for success. They got all the right ingredients. I currently believe, because like, let's face it, let's go down the line. Pascal, he's going to be an all-star. OG, all the teams are looking at him. Look at Boucher coming off the bench. You got Freddie. He hasn't been the same, but you also got Scotty, rookie of the year. You got a lot there. Like when you go down the bench, you got Thad, you got Cam, you got Otto, you got Malachi, you got Bo Cruz. There's so many players that the Raptors have available that can do a job. And like Skip said on one of our last episodes, can they do it at an elite level? Well, they won't get a chance to do it at an elite level if they're not given their time. And like, I'm going to go back to it and I'm going to say it. It's got to do with the coaching.
So again, that's my thought. I think I do agree. I think coaching does definitely deserve some blame. Ultimately, I think it's a roster construction issue. But again, we'll hear from you guys. We will definitely want to hear in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. And any final thoughts before we end it?
No, I think we covered most of it. I think I'll just say Malachi. I think he's been great, but I think that's kind of the problem, is that we're putting Malachi in this position when we need someone who's better than Malachi. No offense to Malachi, he's better suited to be a backup, second, third string guy. If you have a really good player in that spot, then that changes things.
Brian,
I just want to say thank you for having us on your show instead of us always reaching out to you to come on our show. I got nothing but love for you. I love your show. I watch it all the time. I wake up in the mornings and I watch it, and I work early in the morning. So I'm up at like 3, 4 in the morning, our time, not your time. And I'm watching it. And I just got to say, thank you very much. I enjoy being on this show, and we can't wait to have you back. And thank you for being a great part of To The Point family. And I wish you nothing but the best for 2023, man. And I hope you enjoyed your holiday.
Yeah, Happy New Year, everybody.
yes, Happy New Year's. One final thought before we end it, guys. I think, Skip, I got to agree with you. Like, the center thing is, you give up draft capital. These guys leave in free agency. That looks a lot worse. So, again, we'll leave it at that. We definitely want to hear from you guys in the comment section. Again, guys, if you haven't subscribed to The Point, go to their channel. They're probably one of the few YouTube channels, guys. You guys always complain about clickbait. They're one of the, I promise you, these guys are one of the best channels that will be honest about their titles and thumbnails. And it's a fun discussion to listen to, man. Like, you listen to their videos while driving. It's honestly amazing. Listen to their podcast, guys. Listen to their videos. You can go through some of the old videos. It's always fun to listen to them. Go over to their channel, subscribe to their channel as well, guys. That will be it for today's video. Again, Brian, Skip, I appreciate you guys being here. Yeah.
Hold on. Thank you for praising our show. But for you ladies and gentlemen out there, we did say Scotty Barnes will be drafted by the Raptors. We did predict Christian Colico the last 2 years. Watch us next year.
Oh, boy.
Absolutely, guys. Stay tuned for that. So that will be it, guys. Again, thank you so much for doing this show. It's always a pleasure. And that will be it for today's video, guys. So thank you so much for watching. And I hope you guys have yourselves a great day.